The future of tech innovation and healthcare innovation is going to dramatically change the human condition. And if we can make sure that there are more different minds around the table, more women, more Black people, more Latinx people, more people of color, period, more people from different backgrounds, from socioeconomic to education to industry of expertise, the better we are going to do to improve the human condition with our investments.
I'm Amy Jo Martin. Welcome to the Why Not Now show. You know that thing you've been thinking about doing? Yeah, that one. Why not now? Have you ever actually taken the time to ask yourself, what's stopping me? Let's talk it through. This is your chance to give that idea the attention it deserves and take action. Each episode, I have a chat with a fascinating person, from entrepreneurs to athletes, celebrities, my parents, rocket scientists, and all walks of life. We talk through a critical time when they've asked themselves, why not now? We dissect that day or even that moment, step by step. Just let go. My friend Lisa Stone is on the show today. Lisa is an investor. She's a founder. She's a managing partner of a VC firm, venture capital. And all in all, she has become a guide to me. Lisa has roots in journalism, in technology, in using storytelling to share really impactful data. And that's one of the things we talk about today as well. Her career is very colorful and decorated. She was the co-founder of BlogHer, which was acquired by She Knows Media. Lisa has put millions of dollars in the pockets of women, and she is an advocate for inclusivity in tech. She walks the talk. One of the points in this conversation that I can't wait for you to hear is how Lisa can reset a room, reset a meeting when she feels like it's gone in a different direction than the original agenda. And she gets tactical. She shares literally what she says, what she does. And this has come in handy for me more than once. Lisa is a fellow Renegade. She's currently in the Spring 2021 Renegade Accelerator program. We are so honored to have her in the group. One of Lisa's superpowers is bringing research to the surface and to the light through storytelling. You will hear about some of the powerful research that she's conducted around diversity and investing. Without further ado, here is my friend, Lisa Stone. Lisa Stone, welcome to the Why Not Now show. Thank you so much for joining me.
It's a pleasure. Thank you, Amy.
I'm excited about this conversation. In the spirit of Why Not Now, let's hop right in. Can you tell me about a time when you had a big decision to make and you had to ask yourself, why not now? We'll dissect that minute, that day, that season, that hour, and understand how you got from idea to action.
I love this question. I feel like my accidental career has been a chain of why not now moments. That exact moment is why I left Turner News and my marriage and went online to start working in digital media in the late 90s. It's why I founded BlogHer. And it's also why I've decided to trade being a serial entrepreneur for going into venture capital.
Being able to design my own day and do it in the most efficient way is a non-negotiable for me. I'm a bit of a time management nerd, so when I find something that allows me to be more efficient and effective to get the most out of my day, I want to share it with everyone. I want you to head to monday.com/AJM because here's the scoop. I have a new tool in my productivity tool belt and it's called Monday. Monday.com. My team and I have never felt more organized professionally and personally. And my to-do list is no longer the boss of me. I feel more in control because every project, initiative, date, task, they're all captured and organized in one place, and my team is in the loop and involved every step of the way. Monday.com/AJM is where you can find your brand new operating system. Everything has its own home, deadline. You can see the team members associated with the tasks, and it's even color coordinated, so you can easily navigate your own task list. It's amazing. So we all have multifaceted jobs, businesses, and lives. With Monday, you're able to keep all of these components organized in their own compartments. But you're also only one click away from seeing the big picture and how they all integrate together. Creating systems and procedures within your day in business saves a lot of time. For example, my team and I have a dedicated board for this very podcast. Did you know there are 28 steps involved in getting one podcast just to air? It's the same exact process every time, and it's a system. And we have the various key steps mapped out, and they're set up as tasks on our podcast board. And this allows for my team and I to stay in lockstep every step of the way. I've even noticed a decrease in emails and meetings since we started using Monday. So you can head to monday.com/AJM and check out how I use it. One feature I love is that my social media content calendar is built inside of monday.com. I finally have one that I actually use. I like it, and it's embedded into my overall calendar as well. Another feature we use every day is the Google Doc integration. You know, I love a good spreadsheet. I can pull them into monday.com and edit them right there versus having 97 tabs open on my computer. If how we spend our days is how we spend our lives, then I can't think of anything more important than using the time in our days wisely. Head to monday.com/AJM to start your free trial today. That's monday.com/AJM, which is short for Amy Jo Martin, if that's how you need to remember it. And you'll see how I use it, what's in it for you, and that's where you get your free trial. So if you start using Monday, hit me up on social media. Let me know how you're using it, what your experience is like, and we can swap tips and tricks. I wish I had started using it sooner. Amazing. So that question has popped up on your career path, your decorated career path, many times. And when it does, how do you navigate going from idea to action? Is there, a system? Is there a set of thoughts, feelings, questions you ask yourself? You've experienced a lot of success and you're making a big impact. And sometimes it's just so important to reverse engineer some of the tactics. If you kind of go back to one of them, do you remember, first I'm going to do A, then I'm going to do B? Might be messy.
Absolutely. So, I was a journalist for the first 10 years of my career. I was, investigative business policy, public policy, transportation geek reporter, back when they called it computer assisted reporting. And I ended up at CNN because I broke a series using the Freedom of Information Act on the FAA and got recruited. And that's where I realized I wanted to pair my love of reporting with my love of strategy and figure out why were people watching what they were watching, et cetera. Here's where I'm going with this, Amy. Every single time I have a why not now moment, it's because three things are happening. Number one, I've got the data. I have uncovered data that is making something so compelling to me as a greenfield business opportunity that I feel like I have to do it. The second thing is whatever's happening in this opportunity is not meeting the quality that I think the consumer wants, whether it's an attorney who's buying continuing legal education from American Lawyer Media, where I started the first blog network,
Mhm.
or it's an editor at Hearst, since I helped put the Hearst magazines online for the first time, who is trying to figure out how to drive traffic to their treasure trove of information. But then thirdly, I am a curmudgeonly reporter in my head. So even when I have my data, and even when I believe the quality out there is not good enough and that we can win by doing it better, I always have some version of a kitchen cabinet I take it to. And by that, I mean a group of people that I would willingly wake up in the middle of the night, have a beer with or a cup of coffee with, and I go to because they are geniuses. And candidly, that in my experience means that they are not like white blonde chick former single moms from Montana. They're really different. They have a totally different experience. They bring a different aspect to whatever it is we're trying to accomplish. And that is actually part of the reason that I have become such a radical, inclusive programmer from jump, because it just makes me smarter. So that's my system. And I can tell you a great example from starting BlogHer if you want.
Yes, please.
In 2005, I had come back from a Neiman Fellowship at Harvard, first internet journalist to get the award. People said it'll never happen. I was very blessed to get the award, spent half the year at MIT studying gaming theory, the other half at the business school at Harvard trying to figure out a business model. Came back with an idea. The destination URL is dead. 9/11 just blew up the blogosphere. We can have a gorgeous sponsorable HTML party in the back in the comments. I found that Ninth Circuit court briefs where attorneys were citing legal blogs because most of the reporters in the legal press were not attorneys. And so the quality of the content was better on the blogs. Quality. Went to American Lawyer Media with my friend Jen Collins, started the first distributed blog network. We were distributing headlines and selling continuing legal education and running great advertising with $45 CPMs. And I also blogged the 2004 DNC for the LA Times, where I saw a little known senator from Springfield, Illinois speak, Barack Obama. And, I was having a great time. And then in January of 2005, Kevin Drum from the Washington Monthly posted a question: where are the women who blog? And that's the sound of women's heads exploding all over the blogosphere. Immediately, the women I was watching, doing everything from recipe blogging to immigration law, started putting up lists of women. And I was like, oh, no, 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 no. We need to show, not tell. Lists of women aren't going to do anything. And so I was introduced to my co-founder, Elisa Camhort Page. We had coffee. She was just as irritated by it as I was. She had 9 blogs. She recruited Jory Desjardins. And 4 months later, we said, you know what? We're going to do this. We're just going to rent out a space, 2 chicks with credit cards. Jory joined us and got some sponsorships. 305 women came from 4 continents. We accidentally made $60,000 because we were like, we got to do it. And that's how BlogHer was born.
Oh, so you uncovered the data, which you did. You identified the problem with the solutions, that there was an issue there, right? And then you have your kitchen cabinet of geniuses that are diverse in terms of their thinking, in terms of who they are and their background. And the BlogHer, I had not heard that story before, and I love that the genesis was what it was. It was born from passion. It was born from these 3 steps. And that was a huge why not now moment. I mean, let's look at where you are now. And you've had your entrepreneurial portion of your career, portions. You've had your corporate / journalism / CNN huge Turner entity. Now you're in venture capital. So after exiting, having a successful exit to She Knows, why are you in venture capital? What are the 3 things now? You are uncovering data, but what is really fueling you to be there right now?
So it's interesting. From that first conference, and an amazing advisory board who was our expanded kitchen cabinet. People like Lynn Johnson, who was, doing early feminist hip hop blogging, and even Barb Dibwad, who helped start Engadget. We built that into a $30 million company where we coded the end-to-end creator experience and sold it. Yes. Flash forward, I ended up being able to pay with Elisa and Jory and team about $50 million to about 6,500 bloggers over the last 5 years that I was CEO before we sold it. And I was really, really pleased with that. Our average check was $300. We had 5, 6, and 7-figure earners. We wouldn't write a check smaller than $25, but we would help you get there. As a feminist and a publisher, it mattered enormously because of our robustly diverse community. And then I took a year and a half off, and I started digging into diversity data, publishing about the profound leadership that Black and brown women show on Facebook. Wrote a couple of articles in 2016 and Instagram. And Sally Krawcheck reached out, the CEO and co-founder of Ellevest, because she was building a financial wellness platform for women. And I thought, oh, I've got to learn from this woman. She's a legend, right? So I was at Ellevest for 18 months, helping build that movement on behalf of women, money, and power. And that's where I had my aha moment, Amy, and realized that because 98.7% of the $69 trillion that are under management for institutions like universities and pension funds and foundations and companies are run by men, and only 1.3% are run by women. And because the venture capital community has been profoundly dominated by men the entire time I was fundraising, that I was never going to be able to make a big enough difference in putting money into the wallets of women unless I went into private equity or venture capital. Even if I recreated BlogHer success, or even if I were able to start a bigger company, Ellevest taught me the profound lack of money being managed and led by women, the unbelievable economic disparities in this country. And I went on a hunt to find a place where my unique expertise building companies from 0 to 100 million, whether it's followers or dollars, would be valued. And I found it.
And so this is the ultimate spot for you right now where you can make the most impact. What brings you positive energy and gets you out of bed every morning? Knowing these stats, obviously there's numbers to drive the need and desire, but how do you remain positive?
Well, it helps to work with some fantastic people and to have a great home life. I mean, you know me personally, Amy. You know that my partner Chris Carfey and I have worked really hard to put our blended family together over the past 18 years, and we are, it's almost 19 years, and I have a lot to say about that. But the West River Group's CEO and founder Eric Anderson made a decision that for the second 20 years of his firm, this is a guy who funded the Series B for DocuSign, and then did the same thing for Topgolf and turned it into what Callaway just bought. He made a decision that he believed that the fact that more than 90% of the world's capital is managed by men means that we're leaving 50% of the intellectual property or more at the table. Yep. And he's right. So the fact that he has decided to remake his partnership with 4 women and 3 men, and half of the women are women of color, and leverage the truth that is in 30 different reports that I've been talking to you about, proving that much better returns are available to investors who work with diverse investing teams, means an enormous amount to me. And my colleagues are deeply talented people. I mean, we were able to put together a team of people who have really diffuse and different expertise. There's almost nothing I can't go to my partners to ask for when it comes to building a company successfully. And I'm really, really honored to work with them.
We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. I'm hopping in here to tell you about a new discovery of mine. I'm in love, and let me tell you, I've fallen hard. We all like our caffeine in the morning. I look forward to that first, second, and fifth cup of coffee in the morning, but now I exclusively drink Super Coffee. I'm such a fan that I actually invested in the company, the team, and their culture. The love for what I do every day makes me jump out of bed in the morning, but Super Coffee truly fuels that fire. It's fueled with positive energy, from the ingredients they use to their brand promise. Super Coffee removes the negatives like sugar and adds the positives like MCT oil and protein so that you can maximize your day. I have an embarrassing secret. I used to be addicted to diet soda. I'd roll out of bed and pop open a can before my eyes were even fully open. I had never been a huge coffee drinker, but when I gave up diet soda on July 12th, 2015, yes, the moment deserves an anniversary. It was a big deal. I needed another caffeine source at that point. For me, that meant coffee with lots of artificial sweeteners, with crazy ingredients I can't pronounce that made me crash by 2 p.m. or so. Well, not anymore. Super Coffee is different. As I mentioned, there's no added sugar, and some of the flavors I love have 10 grams of plant protein. Now, I'm not a big meat eater, so this really helps, and they've just added a few new flavors to their plant-based offering, like French vanilla and sweet cream. They only use ingredients that are great tasting, great for you, and sustain you for the long haul. Nothing shady, only positives. The taste is delish, I can tell you. Take it from someone who needs that extra flavor to enjoy the taste of coffee. And Super Coffee also comes in ground coffee, Keurig pods, creamers, and more on their website, drinksupercoffee.com. One of the things my team and I love most is that on drinksupercoffee.com, you can shop Super Coffee's wide variety of products based on your dietary needs, including gluten-free, plant-based, Whole30, keto, or even vegan, right there on their website. There's something for everyone. While you're on the site, go ahead and stock up because Super Coffee is hooking up Why Not Now listeners with a 25% discount. Head to supercoffee.com and use the code Why Not Now for your 25% discount on all products. drinksupercoffee.com is the only place this offer is available, and your discount works again for all products. Just use Why Not Now as your code, all one word. There are no restrictions. I'm an investor in Super Coffee because the founders truly do walk the talk. Yes, their coffee provides positive energy, but so does their company culture. Their founders are three brothers who share a work hard and be nice to people mentality, and they spread that throughout their culture at Super Coffee. They know the importance of having diverse perspectives at the leadership level, and you know I'm a fan of elevating women in leadership. In fact, one of my Renegade Accelerator grads, Jamie Christ, is one of those women. So once that positive energy arrives on your doorstep, hit me up on social at Amy Jo Martin and show me what flavors and products you went with. And bonus points if you try one of their seasonal blends. The company is growing quickly, and you'll probably start noticing Super Coffee in your local Walmart, Target, or Costco. They are now in over 30,000 retailers nationwide. To take advantage of your exclusive 25% discount, head to drinksupercoffee.com and enter Why Not Now at checkout. That's Why Not Now, all one word. drinksupercoffee.com is the only place this offer is available, and your discount works for all products, no restrictions. That's huge. That's huge. I mean, it's contagious because hearing that from you makes me feel optimistic that, when I ask you what brings you positive energy, you're immediately going to actually your team, and the leader of which, who is male, is fully invested in this, who has a lot of influence, is walking the talk too, based on what you've shared, and even the structure of your team too. So that's exciting. I'm a strong believer of bridging men and women, not just women trying to lock arms and plow ahead on our own. That isn't a very quick solution, right? We need to accelerate. And so some of this research, and what I really appreciate about you, Lisa, is you're a storyteller and you're a journalist, and you have this way of bringing numbers to life, important numbers. And I'm privy to some of the research you've done, which I'm trying to wrap my mind around. And we need to hear this information. But you also have anecdotal, backup that's a little easier for us to understand the numbers, I think, sometimes, because those two just are like a 1-2 punch, right? So can you share a little bit about, well, first of all, when you were tasked to go out and dig some research up on diversity and performance, and really, what is the lay of the land?
Well, it's amazing how much data there is. And candidly, you can put it in one sentence. The more diversity you have on an investing team, the more money you are likely to make, based upon the emerging empirical evidence from a synthesis I did of 30 different studies. And I mean investment banks and consulting firms and academic institutions, all the people we usually go to make sound financial decisions. I mean, the net is that teams that have at least one woman, and candidly, there's way more data on diversity by gender than there is in diversity by race or ethnicity, but I'll get into that. The likelihood of teams that have one or more women on it to invest in women CEOs, 3 times more likely. Diverse investing teams are also 2 times more likely to invest in teams that have women founders. And the reason that matters is that when you look at the performance of companies that are led by diverse founding teams, you get 30% higher multiple on invested capital. So a $1 million company becomes a, hypothetically, $1.3 million company. 63% higher business valuation for companies that have at least one woman on the team, and 65% higher valuation for teams that have at least one person of a different race or ethnicity. I think that, candidly, what's amazing is how unbelievably white and male the industry has been up to now. I mean, the reason I say amazing is because PitchBook has fantastic data that they published with All Raise, saying that from 2009 to 2018, that decade, of the top quartile VC firms, 69% plus had a woman on the team. So in order to get in that top quartile, you had to have a woman on your team. The average percentage of women in VC during that time period was 8 to 12% at most. And so almost nobody had women on their teams during that time. I just think it's fascinating because, PitchBook also reported that people who added a woman to the team had 9.7% more profitable exits. And there's a guy at Paul Gompers, at Harvard, who has done a beautiful database of venture capital exits over the years. And he's even gone to the negative and said, it turns out that if the founders or the leadership team all went to the same school, their exits tend to be 11.5% lower, And it's the resistance to integrating teams is something that I candidly think some of the foundations and universities and institutions that put money into venture capital funds need to be really worried about, because we have a fiduciary duty to derive returns, the highest, best possible returns for our investors. And, bringing it all the way back to my team, all of us could be doing something else right now. But we decided to do this because we care enormously about really two things, three things. One is superior returns. We really want to win at this. Two, we believe that the emerging empirical evidence is right. The diverse teams drive better returns based on our combined, 200 plus years of experience operating some of the largest companies in the S&P and some of the most successful startups. But finally, I think the thing that I really have to say, Amy Jo, here at the year two beginning of our post-pandemic world, every single dollar that goes into technology right now means more than ever to the human condition. We invest in healthcare and life sciences, in SaaS technology, and in the consumer experience. Now, I think we can all agree we need more fun in after the past year plus, but the future of tech innovation and healthcare innovation is going to dramatically change the human condition. And if we can make sure that there are more different minds around the table, more women, more Black people, more Latinx people, more people of color, period, more people from different backgrounds, from socioeconomic to education to industry of expertise, the better we are going to do to improve the human condition with our investments.
So let's talk about this information. And these are the numbers. In your world, do you feel like this data is being embraced and acted upon outside of your organization, just within venture capital, within private equity, within the circles and behind closed doors? Is it being discussed? Is it like, how can we surface this and make it more known? But from what you've seen so far, do you see a shift in behavior yet?
When I think about, as a newly minted venture capitalist, but an old salty dog of an entrepreneur
Who's raised
who has sold a couple $100 million in online advertising and 20 million in venture funding for my company, BlogHer, I'm seeing a couple of different things. And this is in so many ways kind of a commentary on our society at large. There are people who just will never change. Institutionalized, kicking and screaming, will not go gentle into that good night, and don't care what the data are. And candidly, Amy, this is something that I've seen for years since I was a reporter. There are people who have an emotional reaction to the data and don't want to believe it. I'll never forget when I left CNN for Web TV and the brilliant guys in the engineering pod who were coaching me as I learned HTML told me women would never use the internet at scale. And I was like, I have good news. We're pulling the internet through a set-top box through televisions and it's only $99. And I looked at our server data and just as many moms and pops are buying it. Like, good news, it's fixed. And they were like, no, it's never going to happen. I was like, oh, they're having an emotional reaction. It's ridiculous. So there's that group who's never going to change. But then there's a group of people who are, I would say, inclusivity curious.
Oh, that's a good
inclusivity curious. And these are well-intentioned people who are waking up out of their/our privilege. I say that as a cis white hetero woman who has a ton of privilege myself. But I'll never forget after, the New York Times et al. Broke the Me Too movement, right? Open the renewed Me Too movement. And, brave women like Sarah Kunst and others were talking about their experiences. And I had an endless parade of men saying to me, oh my gosh, I had no idea. I'm so sorry. What can we do? This is terrible. And part of me was like, yeah, this is not new. And thanks. But what did you think I was talking about all those years? Flash forward to the killings of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor. And all of Black America is having the same response to the, oh my gosh, we're so sorry. We didn't, what can we do? So inclusivity curious people now have an enormous amount of resources from, organizations like allraise.org and Black VC and the Black Venture Institute, that the Operator Collective and Silicon Valley Bank and others with Black VC helped start. There are an enormous number of organizations that are creating databases of like-minded people that include women, women of color, people of color who are interested in starting companies, getting funded, and changing the economy in order for us all to share in the wealth. And I will say, I think Monique Woodard said it best when she said, you know what? Enough mentoring. Make the hire, send the wire. So there is a real building group of people who are using these resources to sort of change what they're doing. And then finally, there are people like, my amazing colleague, Rochelle Parham, a longtime friend of mine, used to be the CMO at eBay and serves on the boards of Best Buy and of Cosmetics and LabCorp. And she and I both joined West River Group. And I want to tell you who people call when they need a new board member who is a woman of color. They call Rochelle Parham. And I mean, I'm telling you, if she had $1 for every time someone called her to get advice.
A lot of calls lately, huh?
That's right. So people like you, Amy, who's doing so much with women, people like Rochelle, people like Eric. I mean, there's so many allies who are now picking up the phone and getting it done. I recently met Bracken Darrell, the CEO of Logitech. And he and I are both investors in a startup called Femly. It's our organic-based fem care for women, primarily women of color, but all of us. And he is robustly pursuing investment in exactly the kinds of emerging entrepreneurs who otherwise would have to do what their CEO, Ariane Long of Femly, has done for so long. She had so much trouble raising venture capital that she just went out and won 32 pitch competitions. Who does that? This woman is a virtuoso of pitch, but she also deserves to get some venture funding and go run her business. So that's what I'm saying. I do think the pandemic has had a devastating effect, particularly on young women. And Black women, certainly, but women of all backgrounds who are parents in particular. And so I feel really extra passionate to work out and live forever because I'm going to have to go out and be able to find women for the next 50 years. We got to get our mojo back.
Huge. Oh, this is encouraging, right? Just hearing you and I'd like to shift for just a moment into a little bit of a different area. You are a master at setting a room, at hitting reset if you need to. And you've been in so many meetings and high stakes situations where you've got your 10,000 hours in navigating difficult conversations and even potentially, at times conflict in critical situations, in meetings, in conversations. And so I'm coming to this because I've learned a lot from you in the power of that skill. If you're open to it, could you share a couple of your tips on how to reset a room when you feel like the conversation has gone in a direction that is no longer beneficial to anyone? Or, let's just start there.
Sure, absolutely. So I'm complimented you would say that. Thank you. And you are right. I have been told for the past 22 years that the companies I was creating by, for, and with women consumers and women in business were not going to be valuable and that they weren't going to be of interest. And if they were, they weren't going to be high enough quality to make any money. And if they did, no one would care. So I have presented research in hostile settings. I have been in hostile boardrooms. I have raised money with people whose legs were splayed and were openly mocking me while texting their colleagues. Sure, all that. It's so much fun. So it turns out that when you're a journalist and your company gets sold out from under you because Ted Turner has a great exit, and all of a sudden your marriage blows up and it's a good thing, but you have a 1-year-old baby to support, it's hard to rock me off my train because nothing gets much worse than that. So here's what I do. When I go into a situation and let's say I'm presenting, let's say I'm in a room and it's mostly guys, because that would be my experience pitching for the past 22 years. And unless it was one of my teams, at which point it was probably 50-50. But anyway, let's say I went into a room like this and I had a heckler. Let's say someone starts not asking questions about the research, but actually interrupting and heckling and being sort of rude and divisive, et cetera. I am very comfortable saying, you know what? Let's take a pause here. I would love to make sure, because I really value your time and I'm excited to have this conversation, but let's make sure it's valuable to you. I thought we were here today to talk about X, Y, and Z. Let's expand the agenda or change it. What do we think? What that gives people an opportunity to do is join the conversation that the heckler is trying to have me on their time. So if Ray here is causing me trouble, but he is a known heckler within the team, it might give someone else an opportunity in the company to say, thanks so much, Ray. We're actually going to have Lisa talk about X, Y, and Z, and we'll get to your question. Or if it turns out I have screwed up and they are not interested in, what I'm talking about and want to have a different conversation, all good. And empowering it's that old, you cannot take leadership from a group, you have to be given it. Mm-hmm. And their time is very valuable. So I also think a couple of things, just as a woman, and as I said, I'm cis, I'm very much showing up in a conformist appearance. So lots of things are easy for me in regard to people's responses. But one of the things I really try to do is if I'm worked on my confidence, because confidence can be a thing, Amy, when you get in these situations, it's really easy I'm hunching my shoulders and sort of cringing. And I was very introverted and shy early on in my CEO career, and these kinds of conversations popped me out of it. But what I do try to do is I try to speak to the friendly in the room. And quite often that's a woman, if there's a woman in there, or it's just someone who looks like they might not be an enemy.
Yeah. It appears.
Yeah.
I think there's such an interesting, that's such tactical, useful, productive advice, like applicable in a small setting and a big setting. It could be applicable at a family dinner for all that matter, right? It really could. And leveling back to why are we here? Can we all agree with that? Because if we can, that's a united front in some respect. And then leveraging in a way the others in the room, not manipulating, but just giving them the opportunity to kind of vote of where they want the direction the conversation to go is so brilliant. I appreciate you sharing that. And it's one of those things that, as simple as it might sound, first of all, it's not, but when you're in those situations, it can be easy to get ruffled or not quite sure what the next step is in the moment. So the whole, let's pause, let's hit reset for a moment. I just love it.
Absolutely. I mean, it's very, as women, we are in a really interesting transitional moment. We are supposed to, there are so many messages we get. We're supposed to take our power, but yet we're not supposed to offend with it. And we're socialized not to. If you are a different gender or a different race or a different socioeconomic background from the people you're talking with, or differently abled in some way, you can imagine how that kind of heckling or that kind of unwelcome response can really feel like, candidly, bullying. And there's a really interesting study that actually BCG, Henderson Institute did, where they found that in companies that have the most productive innovation, like drive 45% more revenue from innovation in the past 3 years, are the companies that have two kinds of diversity. They have super diverse teams, and that diversity is welcome. Aha. So that dinner table you're talking about, having people around where people actually care what you have to say and setting that tone is super important. Super important. Otherwise, goodbye productivity.
Productivity. Let's talk about it. Do you have a top tip, something that is your go-to when you're feeling maybe you aren't being as productive as you'd like, overwhelmed with the amount of things to do? What does Lisa Stone do in that moment?
When I'm the most overwhelmed, and overwhelm takes on different forms throughout life, right? I mean, like I remember in 2011, we had two of our three kids at home. One of us had a potentially terminal illness. We'd had crazy stuff going on. I was running a startup. It was just crazy. That's different kind of crazy from living by yourself through COVID, which other people have been through, which can feel like, being in solitary confinement, right? While the world goes by. When I'm in a tough spot, I pick up my journal and write in it because I think the physical act of removing that from my head and putting it onto the page is important. And that just gets to the kernel code of a solution for me, Amy, is always no toxic people, including me.
Oh, that's good.
Self-talk. I could give you all the buzzwords, but the bottom line is circle/toxic. You just can't do it. And unfortunately, that means sometimes you have to leave marriages or leave companies or put yourself on a better path. And it's really hard. And that's where you need a posse.
Absolutely. And what you said earlier about uncovering data and that first step that you take in Why Not Now moments that's a form of grabbing your journal and getting that data out is exactly that, right? Uncovering that data. I love that. I love that. I like to start to compile, I guess you'd say lists. I'm a list person. If I can get it out, which it's very similar to, if I can get it on to, for me, I use Monday.com, but if I can get it in a place where I can see it and I'm not relying on it to be in my mind, I feel so much more in control. It feels more, I can cope with it much, much better. It feels like I have a plan forming, right? Perceived control is an ingredient in happiness in general, even if it's just perceived, right? So it's, for me, that's just like sometimes if I'm stressed, I'll start cleaning because I just want to control something, right? Like, just let me do something. Yeah, it's very interesting. So if you were to go back, Lisa, to, the moment where you realized, I think it was 1996, you are the sole provider for you and your son. You didn't have a job because that happened, and you were to tell yourself something. It doesn't have to be advice. It could be whatever. If you could just go back to her and say XYZ, what would it be?
I know exactly what it would be. And actually, it happened to me. So this is a crazy story. I was sitting in, you have a great memory. It was actually October of 1997. And I was sitting in Jing Jing Chinese restaurant in Palo Alto, California, one of my favorite restaurants in the world, family owned, amazing place. And I opened up my fortune cookie. And I was at, basically I was trying to get a job at the time. Turner News had been sold to Time Warner. My marriage had blown up. It was a good thing I was leaving. I had a 1-year-old, adorable, scrumptious baby boy to support. And my life was a mess. So I opened up this fortune cookie and it said, "You will pass a difficult test that will make you happier." And I let out one of those really unattractive bark laughs. I was an a cappella singer in college. I've got some lungs on me. Like when I bark laugh, like everyone flinches. And then I almost started crying at the table. And I am not a crier, but I just was like, oh, this fortune cookie is like my life. And and it turns out that I am floored, blown away, humbled every single day by the resilience I see in other humans. And in particular, candidly, in the past year, women. I think that the amount of strength I see so many, I've been very blessed, Amy, to have over over the years and over my life. I would say that the most important boss I had in my 20s was happened to be a Black man, Mark Carter, my best friend from college, happens to be Jamaican American. I have been raised by two parents who, because they had an interfaith Jewish Baptist marriage and were thrown out of their families, I've always really been very focused on inclusivity and diversity, as you know. But watching the struggle of women, particularly Black and Brown women, through the rebirth of the social justice movement in the United States, it has been one of the most inspiring and galvanizing things I think I've ever seen. And I think that what I would say to myself that year, 30, would be, we need you. Women control 85% of household spending. We have been the majority of voters in this nation since 1964 and shown up at the polls in larger numbers since 1980. Flash forward to today, look at what just happened in Boulder. Mm-hmm. Look at what just happened in Atlanta. Women don't all vote alike or think alike, but with our spending power alone, even if we have lost our jobs or we've got a bunch of little kids at home, I won't even go into the story, but I happen to know I have a friend who has been delivering for Instacart the entire pandemic. Her kids have studied through second, third, and fourth grade in the back of her car. The opportunity we have to reset whatever national agenda we choose to set with our buying power alone is so profound. So I'd go back and say to myself, buck up, babe. We need you. You're going to get through this. And guess what? You have it a lot better than a lot of people. So get ready to get to work.
Amazing. Amazing. Oh, thank you. Thank you for sharing your time. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. And personally, I am honored to just bear witness to your journey. I think back to being invited to speak at BlogHer and watching you and your team interview Melinda Gates on stage and just thinking to myself, wow, look at what they've built. This is possible. Seeing is believing. And you've definitely been an icon for that. So I appreciate you.
Well, I want to thank you because you are a perfect example of the kind of leadership I think that we each have the opportunity to show now, because you came and you gave days of your time multiple times, Amy Jo, and we never paid anybody to speak at BlogHer. It was all out of your heart, all volunteer. And I candidly, we are literally the leaders we've been waiting for.
Yeah.
Stacey Abrams and Kamala and Hillary and Dolly Parton are all kind of busy. They need us to step up.
Step up.
It's taken us only so far.
As you said, we can make a difference and make $1. Big
yeah, right.
Right? I love that. I love it. And it's so true. We can be our own heroes and take that personal responsibility, which is something that I know you're extremely passionate about. Thank you for doing the work too, with digging into the numbers and surfacing the reality of what happens when we have more diverse teams, companies, funding, investors, and we'll continue on. And where's the best place for people to connect with you online?
Oh, thank you. I really love LinkedIn, and Twitter is so efficient, So I'm at Lisa Stone on Twitter and Lisa Stone Woot on LinkedIn.
There you go. There you go. Thank you, Lisa.
Thanks again, Amy Jo.
Hey, everyone. everyone. Thanks for listening to the show. Hit me up on social media to let me know what you think. I'm at Amy Jo Martin on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And I want to hear your Why Not Now moments so I can share them on the show. Just send me a note to whynotnow@amyjomartin.com. For show notes and other offers, you can visit amyjomartin.com/whynotnow. And while you're there, don't forget to sign up for my email newsletter for exclusive content and announcements. A big thanks to Rock Salt Music for all of the tunes by the talented John Coggins. And of course, a hat tip to Richard Brewer for editing and producing the show. I'll see you next time. And until then, why not now?